For attending today's session on the new and updated suite of National Professional Qualifications, which launched this autumn. Before we begin the session, I'll explain how the live event will run. Due to the number of attendees in today's session, you'll notice that the voice chat and video have been disabled. This is just to support the quality of the broadcast and to ensure that the session runs as smoothly as possible. I'd encourage you to post your questions in the chat panel, which can be found on the right-hand side of the screen as we go along. You've already had the opportunity to submit questions ahead of the webinar, and we'll answer some of these during the session. Any others will be sent out alongside an answer to all registered attendees after the session. Any repeated questions won't be published. Today's webinar will be recorded and the slides shown will be sent to everyone who's registered, so you'll be able to look back on what we've covered today along with some additional information about NPQs. If at any point you can't see the chat panel, slides or videos being presented, please exit and rejoin the event. So my name is Emma Gilman. I lead the NPQ Communications and Stakeholder Engagement team at the Department for Education. As well as my current comms role, I've also been lucky enough to see the development of the NPQ materials from the providers, as I worked in the team that reviewed all of the content alongside the EEF. So, National Professional Qualifications, or NPQs, are trusted transferable qualifications accredited by the DfE. They're designed to provide training and support for teachers and school leaders at all levels, from those who want to develop expertise in high quality teaching practice, such as behaviour management, to those leading multiple schools across trusts. We know that the day-to-day practicalities of being a teacher or leader mean that practitioners are so busy. In this slide, we'll cover what is involved in undertaking an NPQ and highlight how these qualifications have been built so that they work for you. We recently launched a new and updated suite of NPQs, which we'll talk you through today. The first cohort of qualifications in the new suite began in November 2021, and the second one will begin in February 2022. Studying for an NPQ can last between 15 and 27 months, depending on your chosen NPQ. While courses will be based on the same frameworks, providers will determine the exact course structure, content and method of delivery. Participants will learn from the evidence-based curriculum of their chosen qualification, which draws on effective pedagogy, current research and international best practice. This study will equip you with the knowledge and skills to either develop in your current role or take the next step in your career. Each course features a mixture of face-to-face sessions, webinars and self-directed study to ensure that professionals have access to the best tuition and support regardless of where they're based. And finally, to complete an NPQ, participants will answer a short assessed case study question based on a scenario related to their chosen course and context. We anticipate high demand for these qualifications, so we really recommend that you begin your application as soon as possible. So NPQs have been designed to be as flexible as possible, carefully considering teachers and leaders' workload and existing commitments. We've listened carefully to feedback from the sector to make sure the qualifications work for participants and the contexts which they are based in. As I mentioned, the exact length of the course depends on the NPQ that you choose, but the time commitment required to complete the course has been re-examined. A specialist NPQ will consist of at least 50 hours of learning over 12 months, and a leadership NPQ will consist of at least 75 hours of learning over 18 months. Learning will contain a mixture of face-to-face sessions, webinars and self-directed study. For both the specialist and leadership NPQs, the assessment window follows this 12 or 18-month learning duration. We understand that teachers and leaders often structure professional development around their existing commitments, and we believe that studying for an NPQ shouldn't be an exception to this. All 9 lead providers have ensured that their programmes are suitable for part-time professionals, deferrals or school transfers. We also recognise that teachers and leaders are needed in their settings probably more than ever before, and that's why we've worked with providers to carefully consider the time which staff are away from their setting. We've worked really hard to ensure that these qualifications deliver quality development opportunities which are relevant to teachers and rooted in school-based practice. In collaboration with an expert advisory group, we consulted extensively with the sector to design the new suite of NPQs. This has included invaluable input from teachers, schools and trust leaders, academics and experts. The Education Endowment Foundation has also independently reviewed the frameworks to ensure that they draw on the best available evidence and that this evidence has been interpreted with fidelity. Each NPQ is underpinned by a new content framework. These frameworks set out exactly what participants should know and what they should be able to do after completing an NPQ, and providers have used these frameworks to design all of their courses. The framework set out two different types of content. Within each area, key evidence statements that we call Learn That statements have been drawn from current high-quality evidence from the UK and overseas. This evidence includes high-quality reviews and syntheses, including meta-analyses and rigorous individual studies. In addition, the NPQ frameworks provide practical guidance on the skills that teachers and school leaders should be supported to develop. Practice statements, which we call Learn How To statements, draw on both the best available evidence and additional guidance from the expert advisory group and other sector representatives. The references for the evidence underpinning each section are also provided at the end of the framework for further reference. The NPQ frameworks have also been reviewed by a wide range of sector bodies, including unions and special educational needs and disability experts. We're now going to watch a short video from our lead providers who will talk briefly about how the content and quality of the new suite of NPQs has been assured.
Okay, so one of the biggest factors as a teacher or a leader in a school is the workload involved in the job. The thought of doing an extra qualification actually sounds great for personal development, but it's often passed upon when we think about the time commitment that would be involved.
So how have we set about the design of these NPQ programmes? Well, firstly, we've done it absolutely with our teachers and leaders in mind. We know that they are incredibly busy people, possibly now more than ever, and we also know that it's their absolute priority to be in their schools and in their classrooms with their students.
So because the programmes have a blended model, they are inherently flexible.
The programmes have been designed to ensure that a big chunk of the content is covered through, we use the term self-study. So that gives leaders access to materials when they're ready to learn, when they want to learn.
Although the content is fixed, we're able to adapt, emphasize, and deliver the program that's suited to the cohort of participants that we have on the course.
We do think, though, that this blended approach does keep the workload manageable and provide you with a degree of control as to when the work is completed. And where possible, we record as much as possible. So if for any reason you can't attend a session, you can access a recording.
This approach is designed to support you to access the content in a way that's tailored to your starting point and workload, as well as supporting those in more isolated locations or with existing commitments or particular individual requirements. So we want to be as respectful of the time you have as possible.
In addition to this, your facilitators and your course leaders will also be able to support with flexibilities as and when the situation arises. We are here to support your learning so that you can support the young people and the pupils to help them to do their very best.
We've put our teachers' wellbeing at the centre of how we've structured the NPQ programmes, and this flexible approach should fit around you and your needs. You'll be able to access online learning at a time that works for you, and our blended learning approach will give you the flexibility and accessibility of self-directed online content alongside synchronous seminars in small groups to consolidate what you're learning.
The other aspect of the NPQs that really aids workload is the way that we assess. With the new suite of NPQs, there is an 8-day assessment window that comes at the end of your programme. And on day 1 of those 8 days, we will release a case study to you, and you'll have 8 days then to respond with a 1,500 word response.
You'll be presented with a case study and then demonstrate through a written submission how you would apply the learning from a particular NPQ.
Workload and well-being issues are tackled by being better at your job, by knowing what works in schools, by having professional networks and people you can ask So probably the biggest impact of doing an NPQ and its impact on workload is just studying good content with people that will provide support, will make it easier to do your job better and have a sort of an impact more efficiently, I suppose.
Much of our programme is focused on implementation and how, as teachers and leaders, do we do less but do it better. And so through all the implementation work, we will guide you through how you can really use and identify those highest leverage initiatives to implement in your setting that longer term will reduce workload for yourself and reduce workload for those teachers around you.
The programme will allow you to consider the plan for building a manageable workload for you and your school, your wider team, your colleagues, your peers. And this includes examples of good practice from other schools, as well as building knowledge around focused, evidence-informed approaches.
We know now that it is deep knowledge and dedicated, deliberate practice rather than genes or magic that underpin expertise.
It's worth reflecting that these new NPQs have been built on completely revised frameworks, starting from the ground up, understanding the new evidence that's available and with a real thought about what skills, what knowledge, what understanding the leaders need when they're actually practicing in their roles.
So the programme has been built around the frameworks and then quality assured by the EEF, who've then fed back, and we've been able to make changes and ensure that that meets that really high quality bar. So we are confident that you're getting the best evidence content.
All of the learning in the programme is related to the teachers and leaders' context, and we help teachers and leaders of different contexts to work together and discuss to improve their practice too.
The NPQ frameworks provide the starting point for describing what sets expert school leaders apart from novices in their respective areas. Thereafter, the design and delivery of our NPQs will help an individual to push just beyond their current level of skill and consequently to grow as a leader.
You might think that committing a year or 18 months to professional development is a big ask, and it is, but the benefits far outweigh the costs.
As part of the government's long-term education recovery plan, £184 million of new funding for NPQs was announced on the 2nd of June 2021 to be spent over the next 3 years. This means that more professionals than ever before are now eligible for NPQ scholarship funding. You're eligible for scholarship funding if you work in a state-funded school, as well as a state-funded organisation that offers 16 to 19 places in England. This means that all teachers and leaders in these settings will be able to access a scholarship to undertake fully funded NPQs. The new and updated suite of NPQs is also available to applicants from non-state funded schools and organisations, but DFE funding isn't available in this case. Lead providers will receive this funding directly from the department, so we hope that this reduces the administrative burden on schools and allows participants to really focus on their qualification. We're really excited about the new suite of NPQs because not only will these qualifications benefit the participants themselves, but we anticipate wider benefits for the school or trust in which they're based. Teachers who undertake an NPQ will expand their knowledge by learning from current research and international best practice to hone and develop the skills they already hold to excel inside and outside of the classroom. Research supports this by highlighting that practitioners who participate in high quality CPD have a really significant impact on the learning outcomes of the children in their care. Studying an NPQ will also allow you to collaborate with teachers and leaders across the country to share your experiences and discuss good practice in the sector. In addition to developing new knowledge, the leadership NPQs have been designed to help you develop the skills you need to reach the next step of your career. There are lots of benefits to schools and trusts which are reflective of those benefits to the individual. The exposure to current research and global best practice and the training derived from these, leadership NPQs will strengthen the skills of senior and middle leaders, enabling them to drive change that supports staff and improves the learning outcomes for children, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds. Through the specialist NPQs, schools will develop in-house experts in key areas who can excel in their own classrooms and support others to do the same. Finally, the qualifications will establish strong professional development cultures in organisations across the country, as schools really benefit from the improved quality and consistency offered by NPQs, as the frameworks build upon the knowledge developed during initial teacher training and early career support. We feel passionately that all teachers deserve world-class development opportunities to continuously develop their expertise throughout their careers so that every child in every classroom in every school gets the best start in life. That's why we're really excited to have introduced 3 new specialist NPQs, which will enable teachers at all stages of their career to learn from the best available evidence and to develop their expertise in specialist areas of teaching practice and deliver change, whether that be in the classroom, the department, the school, or across the trust. The specialist qualifications which are now available are the NPQ in Leading Teacher Development, the NPQ in Leading Behaviour and Culture, and the NPQ in Leading Teaching. Using the early career framework as the foundation, these specialist NPQs flow directly from and extend the expertise in the core areas in which teachers will receive training at the start of their career. In this next video, our 9 lead providers will give an overview of the specialist suite of qualifications, and then we'll then go into a little bit more detail.
So what are the specialist NPQs? Well, these are 3 new programmes to the suite. They are all 12 months long, and they are in Leading Behaviour and Culture, Leading Teaching and Leading Teacher Development. And we're really excited about these new specialist programmes because they provide that specialist knowledge, that depth of knowledge, whilst allowing teachers to remain in the classroom and still progress through their career.
These are very targeted at important areas within leading schools, that having some specialist knowledge and some kind of skill development that's very focused on those areas will make a difference.
So the benefit of doing an NPQ, I would say, is to really broaden and deepen your expertise in a very specialist area and help you get really good at the thing that you do day in, day out.
The NPQ for Leading Teachers Development, these are actually focused on, teacher development, pedagogy and practice. This course is suitable for those that are already leading on teacher development or would like to get involved in teacher development within their school. One thing to understand, actually, this course isn't just about developing teachers that are at the beginning or early stages of the career. It's actually to raise teaching and learning, the teaching and learning quality throughout your school, so for all staff.
Of course, it also focuses on the teaching element, based and grounded in the early career framework. Implementation is also a very important part of this course, because without the stages of implementation, it's really difficult to implement any lasting change.
And we really want to support you to develop as a specialist in that area, and thinking about how you might design and deliver CPD across your school. And to give you the opportunity to engage with school leaders who've done this and who are expert at this, and turn your learning into changes in your own and others' practice across your school.
The last NPQ specialist course is the one that is for leading teaching. Now, this is more of a curriculum-focused NPQ, and it's suitable for those that wish to be involved with leading a specific subject area, specific key stage, or specific phase within a school. Now, closely linked to the teacher development NPQ, what this course focuses more greatly on is the pupil aspect of teaching. So, how do pupils learn? Classroom practice, the use of pupil data. Questions that you'll be asking yourself, like, are we teaching the pupils the right things at the right time? And those are the type of things that you will explore in this particular specialist course.
The leading teaching qualification is a really great next step after the early career phase and a little bit further on from that, because it really helps to focus on improving that teaching practice and working with others to improve their practice as well.
The first one is called the NPQ for Leading Behaviour and Culture. And this NPQ focuses on behaviour and supporting pupil well-being in school. This is a great course for those that aspire to work within a pastoral realm of a school, or those that would just like to be more involved in developing strong behaviour routines and culture within their schools. This course is actually also open to non-teaching staff. This is including, those that are involved in pastoral care or behaviour management. So, for example, pastoral leads, behaviour managers, school chaplains.
The Leading Behaviour and Culture NPQ is for anybody that's interested in improving behaviour and culture and leading that improvement with others. So it could be at a phase level, a year level, a subject level, faculty level, or indeed a whole school level. Being able to access this level of research is really vital to developing the leadership of behaviour and culture in school.
We want to make sure that you can develop as a specialist in areas related to behaviour, school culture, and the development of others working on these priorities. And again, that opportunity to work with current serving school leaders who are real experts in this particular aspect of school improvements.
There is a little bit of a misconception that we're finding about the specialist NPQs, and that is that because the middle leadership NPQ has gone and these 3 new specialist NPQs have appeared, is that the pitch of the NPQs, the specialist NPQs, is very much at middle leadership level, and that's absolutely not the case.
Don't fall into the trap of thinking that they're replacing the middle leadership qualification. They are in fact very different and absolutely apt for teachers and leaders of varying experience, because they're about drilling down into a curriculum.
NPQs are designed for all teachers and leaders, not just leaders. It is to help teachers gain some knowledge and expertise within a particular specialist area.
So you might find yourself doing all 3 specialist NPQs over the course of your career, or you might be focusing in on one.
For the first time, these provide a really good career development pathway for those teachers that want to focus on leading CPD or behaviour and culture, or leading teaching and aspects of the curriculum. These specialist programmes would be equally suitable for leaders already working in those areas, or teachers who are interested in moving into leadership and management roles, and then specialising in one of those areas.
So you can see that the specialist NPQs really are specialist NPQs. They're not a replacement for the middle leadership qualifications. They are about providing great leadership and great change, transformations for improvement in those 3 areas.
And it is possible over time that somebody might do all 3 of those specialist NPQs in order to broaden and deepen their knowledge base.
I would encourage you to have a look at the specialist programmes and then have a conversation with your line manager or CPD coordinator and get their support before applying.
Apologies for the slight technical hiccup there. We were, of course, just checking that you were listening. We're now going to investigate each of the specialist NPQs to discuss the benefits of each qualification, the modules of study which participants will be engaging with, and who the qualification is targeted at. Excuse me. So the specialist NPQ in leading teacher development, shown in the left-hand column, has been designed for teachers who have or are aspiring to have responsibilities for leading the development of other teachers in the school. These staff might have responsibilities relating to the development of all teachers across a school or specifically trainee or early career teachers. This qualification will enable teachers to create a school culture which values professional development and recognises the impact which it can have on pupil attainment. It helps to identify the skills and talents which practitioners have and the areas of their practice which could be developed further. Participants will understand how to plan, sequence and deliver a high quality CPD programme and determine the impact of that CPD through monitoring and evaluation. The specialist NPQ in leading behaviour and culture, which is shown in the middle column, has been designed for teachers who have or are aspiring to have responsibilities for leading behaviour or supporting pupil wellbeing in their school. This qualification will enable participants to learn how to set and maintain high expectations of behaviour across an organisation. They'll understand how to develop an inclusive environment which allows all pupils to thrive and to feel safe. They'll be able to support pupils with a variety of behavioural needs and implement new strategies for developing positive behaviour which are rooted in the best available evidence. The specialist NPQ in leading teaching, shown in the right-hand column, has been designed for teachers who have or are aspiring to have responsibilities for leading teaching in a subject, year group, key stage or phase. Although the role really varies, many phase leaders, key stage leaders, heads of department often directly manage a team of teachers across their work and are focused on supporting effective teaching across the school. This qualification will enable participants to understand key theories surrounding learning and how this links to effective lesson planning and delivery. They'll be empowered to support colleagues to develop a curriculum which enables children to develop a real love of learning. They'll explore how teaching can be adapted to meet the needs of learners and develop effective assessment practices which align with wider school improvement priorities. We believe that these specialist qualifications will really enable teachers and leaders across the country to hone the skills that they already have, deepen their understanding of specialist areas and ultimately improve pupil outcomes at all levels. We believe that the leadership NPQs will give new, existing and aspiring leaders the tools and skills to transform their settings and offer the best possible outcomes for the staff who they work alongside and the children in their diverse communities. The NPQ in senior leadership, shown again in the left-hand column, is aimed at school leaders who are or are aspiring to be a senior leader with cross-school responsibilities. To support this audience, the qualification will enable participants to understand how to create and maintain shared values that improve the whole school environment, use evidence to make effective decisions which support staff and pupils, manage relationships with all members of the school and the wider community, and be accountable for decisions and work with colleagues to develop a safe and supportive community which enables all staff and pupils to thrive. The NPQ in headship, which is in the middle column, is for school leaders who are or are aspiring to be a head teacher or head of school with responsibility for leading a school. The qualification will enable participants to learn about effective leadership and how this can be applied within the school setting, to understand how to create and maintain those shared values that improve the whole school environment, develop assessment and pedagogy to ensure that all pupils receive a balanced curriculum which really enables them to thrive, manage relationships with school stakeholders and the wider community, and to understand key processes such as finance and resource management, statutory guidelines and legal requirements. A really extensive package of additional support is now available for new head teachers alongside this NPQ, which we'll discuss in the next slide. Finally, the last NPQ in executive leadership is shown in the right-hand column and is aimed at school leaders who are or are aspiring to be an executive head teacher or to have a school trust CEO role with responsibility for leading several schools. This qualification will enable participants to create and maintain a supportive trust culture through clear communication, effective leadership and responsible resource management, to understand how senior leaders can be utilised to embed really high quality teaching and ensure that the curriculum and assessment practices help all pupils to succeed, to develop an inclusive environment which allows all pupils to thrive and to feel safe, and to implement change across a group of schools and to overcome the challenges which this process may raise. So we really recognise that new head teachers might need more tailored support as they step into a complex role with such wide-ranging responsibilities. That's why, in addition to the new suite of NPQs, the department's also introducing a new targeted support package for new head teachers from autumn 2021. Head teachers will be eligible for this if they meet the criteria shown on the screen. While the exact content will depend on the provider chosen, the additional support offer provides new head teachers with the personal and professional skills needed to manage the challenges faced in the role, apply their knowledge and learning from the NPQH, and collaborate effectively with others to deliver really meaningful change throughout the school community. These skills will be developed through structured, unassessed, face-to-face support based on the best available evidence about what makes an effective head teacher. Other activities may include a combination of group coaching, one-to-one support discussions, and peer network support. The additional support offer also offers further flexibility to applicants as it's not tied to a specific timeframe or specific cohort. We're now going to watch another video from our lead providers as they explain a little bit more about the additional support offer and why it's so beneficial to new head teachers.
All lead providers have been asked by the DfE to design an additional support offer for teachers new to the role of headship.
The additional support offer, or what we call the ASO, is a fantastic new opportunity for any head teachers in their first 2 years of their role.
Here, colleagues will be able to look at the persistent problems of school leadership and really lean on their network as they work through the highest leverage solutions to those persistent problems.
Anyone who's previously done an NPQH or is now taking the new NPQH is eligible for this opportunity. It is an offer which really takes into consideration the well-being and workload of a new head teacher.
This is a support offer, it's not a qualification, and so there is no assessment with the additional support offer. And so the additional support offer has been designed to support new head teachers in these early stages of headship and ensure that they have the space and the time and the opportunity to work through the challenges that the role inevitably brings.
The additional support offer for heads is another really exciting new offer, and we believe it's something that the sector really needs, so we're delighted to be playing a part in that. It's a targeted package of support aimed at new head teachers based on the content of the new NPQH, which has now been reformed to ensure it's underpinned by the latest and best evidence and really helps head teachers meet those practical challenges head on. So this means that any new head teacher has access to core evidence-informed content, but in addition, flexible support, a wider network of other new heads, and an objective pair of eyes to help with those early days of headship and to act as a sort of mentor coach through that time.
It addresses all the well-evidenced challenges of headship, allowing head teachers to feel part of a supportive community that fosters confidence, self-belief and perspective.
I must stress that this is a highly flexible programme and is tailored in discussion with the head teacher. It provides practical support to develop an implementation plan in their new school, opportunities to develop professional relationships and networks that will support them throughout their headship, access to coaching and mentoring from experienced head teachers, and the opportunity to reflect on areas for personal and professional development.
The focus is on enabling head teachers to apply NPQH knowledge and skills to their context, to thrive through building support networks, and to sustain themselves using social and psychological resources for leadership.
We want applicants to feel confident that the assessment has been made more accessible than ever before and can be completed flexibly around existing commitments. The assessment process has been refreshed to reduce the workload burden on teachers and leaders while still providing an opportunity for them to apply their knowledge. To pass an NPQ, participants will need to engage with at least 90% of the course and then complete this final assessment. At the start of their training, lead providers will provide participants with a complete list of course elements and how participation will be assessed. This will give confidence that the qualification can be managed around their role and ensure that there are no surprises during learning. The final assessment will take the form of a short case study and represent a likely situation to be faced by a teacher at the relevant NPQ qualification level or role. Applicants will be allowed an 8-day calendar window to provide a written response to the case study in an open book setting. This means that you'll be able to consult and use any notes or materials which you've gathered during the course to support your answer. We really believe that these changes will help more practitioners than ever before access and achieve a qualification, which will transform their practice, provide the skills and knowledge to take the next step in their career, and most importantly, benefit the lives of young people across the country. So throughout the development and launch of the new suite of NPQs, we've worked really closely with the sector to discuss experiences and collect feedback. The next and final video is a really exciting one that features head teachers and leaders from across the sector as they talk about why NPQs are great for themselves, for their teachers and for their schools.
So I was really pleased by the restructuring of the NPQs this year, and that really encouraged me to put forward and nominate a number of our leaders in school.
I want my teachers to be at the absolute forefront of the profession, and to do that they've really got to be actively engaging in action research within the school. So that has the double win, if you like, of them being able to put forward their own progression, make sure that they actually enjoy their career, but then they also help me to look into particular problems which sometimes have complex solutions, and they put forward an idea as a solution.
I learn so much by meeting with other people, practitioners in other schools, hearing about their roles and their contexts, and sometimes how it's similar to our own context and how it's sometimes different, and the different challenges that are faced by different leaders. I think that you will only get that experience as a developing leader by going out and having this kind of professional development.
I want them to feel actively engaged in their own career progression and therefore have an impact on the school. Another key point is that you're making sure that the staff know that the whole school is aspirational. By investing in the staff and giving them the time and capacity to do those qualifications, you're actually communicating with them that we are aspirational as a school, we're forward thinking, we're reflective, and that we are going to take on board initiatives that they want to implement.
Here at RISE, one of the things we're doing through engaging with the NPQs is we've asked all schools to send at least one representative on the NPQ leading teacher development, and that's where we're looking to develop a range of staff across the trust in order to allow us to have that shared understanding of the research, both at local levels within school and trust-wide. And it's about providing that wider capacity for school improvement and making sure that we've got a real consistent approach to teaching, learning and assessment, and to teacher development as a whole.
I also want to invest in the staff. I think that if the staff really know that you're prepared to give them the time and the funding and to recognise the skills that they have, then they feel valued and supported in their career, and you're likely to then retain the best staff.
And from a school leader perspective, the unprecedented amount of funding that's been put into the NPQs means that actually it doesn't have a massive impact on budgets and financial constraints.
The way that they were split into the different areas really fitted into our strategic planning as a school and our leadership development plan.
One last thing that I think has been really valuable about having a number of different staff working on an NPQ is that actually you have a team of people who are actively encouraging all staff to be constantly reflecting on the school action plan.
You can get more people than ever engaged in these professional development programs, so we can see really a system-wide impact on pupil outcomes.
One of the significant impacts of doing an NPQ in the school is that the outcomes for children are improved.
I think as someone who takes CPD and talent management seriously, and someone who's had the privilege of seeing some of the materials being used, the programs have come a real long way from their kind of former iterations. I truly do believe that they can have a real positive impact on both staff development and most importantly pupil outcomes. It's crucial in able to engage leaders and teachers in the process and make sure that we've got really highly skilled people across the trust and within our schools, so that they can then work on provision in their schools and wider to ensure that not only we get the best pupil outcomes, but also we have the best pupil experience within our school.
Through that quality CPD and developing all of those skills, that can only have a positive outcome on our pupil outcomes when you've got these enthusiastic staff who've got a real confidence in what they believe to be true. They're now hearing the theory of why, and it's backing up everything that they knew. It just really makes them go forward, gives them the skills to go forward and the confidence to develop other staff, which in turn has that knock-on effect on our pupil outcomes only in a positive way.
I think it's just a great opportunity for us as a profession to develop and evolve within the research and engaging with that actively.
So if you are interested in a particular NPQ programme, your first step will be to sign up with one of the 9 lead providers who are all listed on screen. These providers have been chosen by a fair and open procurement process by the DfE. Delivery partners, including teaching school hubs, will work with these lead providers to deliver training. Providers of the reform suite of NPQs will be subject to a quality assurance mechanism through Ofsted inspection to ensure the best support for schools and teachers. One way you can sign up is with one of the 9 lead providers through your teaching school hub. You can find your local teaching school hub on Gov.uk, or you can contact lead providers or other known delivery partners directly. Once you've chosen who you would like to work with, you will be directed to the DfE's digital service to enter your teacher reference number and a little bit of information about yourself and your school. More information about the digital service and how to sign up will be provided following the session. So to ensure that National Professional Qualifications continue to offer the best possible support to teachers and leaders wanting to expand their knowledge and skills, we're currently consulting with sector representatives and other experts to develop additional qualifications. From autumn 2022, additional qualifications in early years leadership and leading literacy will be available. The NPQ in Leading Literacy will aim to develop the teaching of literacy in primary and secondary schools and to support the catch-up of children whose literacy development has been impacted by the pandemic. The qualification will explore the development of literacy skills, including oral language, word reading, reading comprehension, spelling and writing composition, through effective teaching and monitoring. The role of strong literacy leadership and high quality training in primary and secondary settings, as well as managing the transition between key stages and into secondary school, will also be examined. The qualification will be aimed at teachers who have or are aspiring to have responsibilities for leading literacy across a year group, key stage or phase. The NPQ in early years leadership will aim to underpin and increase early years specific pedagogical leadership in early years settings, strengthen staff pedagogy and support children whose development has been impacted by the pandemic. The qualification will investigate early education and child development with a focus on communication, language and physical development, as well as personal, social and emotional growth, in line with the EYFS reforms. The setting of strategic direction and organisational culture, as well as pedagogical leadership, including evidence-based learning, will also be explored. This qualification will be aimed at current managers of private, voluntary and independent settings, including childminders, current leaders of school-based settings and reception class teachers with QTS who are or aspiring to be year group leaders. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question in advance or during today's session. We're now going to answer some questions which were submitted in advance of the webinar. If we didn't manage to answer your question today, we'll be sending out a comprehensive Q&A document after the webinar to cover any questions which we might have missed. So I'll fly through these because I'm very conscious of time. So the first one is, how much time will I spend outside of the classroom? So we know that the day-to-day practicalities of being a teacher or leader mean that practitioners are very busy and are needed in their settings more than ever before. We've worked with providers to carefully consider the time which staff are away from their setting. Given the flexible nature and differing lengths of the qualifications on offer, we highly recommend contacting your local teaching school hub or lead provider directly to find out a little bit more about time commitments involved and how you can complete the qualification around your existing responsibilities. The next question is the ability to do an NPQ restricted to staff with qualified teacher status only? So the new suite of NPQs is not restricted to staff with qualified teacher status, and staff without this are encouraged to discuss their situation with lead providers. Providers will, however, assess candidate suitability for NPQs, bearing in mind the content frameworks and that they contain sections on teaching and on learning. Will funding for these courses continue beyond 2022? So, as mentioned earlier, as part of the government's long-term education recovery plan, £184 million of new funding has been announced over the next 3 years. And the last question is, what learning opportunities are there for teachers who have no leadership qualifications currently? So the new suite of NPQs has been specifically designed to offer something for all teachers and leaders in the sector. Participants don't need to have any previous qualifications, and we'd highly recommend reading through the frameworks on Gov.uk or speaking to a lead provider to identify the qualification which can give you the skills and knowledge to benefit you, your current role or your aspirations. Thank you so much for your time and engagement today, and apologies again for the slight technical hiccups. The slides will be shared after this session for you to refer to. If you'd like to receive direct updates from the department on NPQs, there's a little link to our mailing list which you can click in the chat, or you can follow the link in the slides at a later date. Thank you again.